My name is Mark. I was never a person who spent time thinking about life after death. I never gave serious thought to what might happen when we breathe our last breath. I had grown up in a quiet family. We didn't go to church much, and we rarely talked about spiritual matters. Then one day, I found myself in a hospital bed with a failing heart and no real plan for what might happen if things went wrong. Well, that day, something did go very wrong. I remember being on that bed and hearing doctors talking quickly. I could feel a pressure in my chest, but at the same time, my thoughts felt distant, as if I was watching the scene from a few feet away. It didn't feel like I was inside my body anymore. My vision flickered, and I sensed a sudden drop, as if my soul had slipped out of my body. Then everything went dark. I lost track of my senses in that moment, but it felt like my mind was still running. It was as if I had fallen into a quiet space with no walls. The feeling was calm for a split second, and then I felt a shock that shook me from inside. I found myself in a strange place. It wasn't like the real world, but it also wasn't a dream. The colors were deeper, like they had more life to them. There was no obvious source of light, but everything glowed somehow. At first, I didn't see or hear anything but my own thoughts. I tried to speak, yet no sound came from my mouth. I wasn't even sure I had a body. I had a sense of existing, but I didn't know in what form. Soon, a shape appeared. It was off in the distance, but it glowed in a gentle way, and I felt drawn to it. The best way I can describe it, it was like a silhouette made of pure light. It seemed to notice me right away, and I felt a pull, almost like a wave of heat or a wave of emotion. I was scared at first, but then, in the next moment, I felt the deepest comfort I've ever known. It was a strange mix of fear and relief. This presence didn't speak with words, but thoughts formed in my mind as if they came from somewhere else. I remember feeling a warm hush wash over me, and the fear started to fade. Then I became aware of a vast space around us. We stood on what seemed like a path. It wasn't a physical road, but it was a route or corridor of sorts. I saw shapes and sparks of light drifting around, like they were conscious in some way. I couldn't figure out what they were. Every time I tried to focus, they would fade, then reappear in a different spot. They had a gentle hum, and I got the sense that I was surrounded by an energy that was both alive and intelligent. The presence guided me forward, though not with a spoken command. It was more like a soft pull. As I moved, I saw scenes from my life. They were like snapshots in the air, pictures that floated by but felt real. I saw my childhood home, my dad laughing while flipping pancakes on a Sunday morning, and my mom reading me bedtime stories. I saw myself as a kid riding my bike down the sidewalk, feeling the wind on my face. Then I caught a glimpse of moments I wasn't so proud of. I saw the times I had spoken harshly to people I cared about. I saw times I had lied to save face or ignored someone who needed help. Each scene rippled with emotion. I felt their hurt, my guilt, and the shame of seeing my selfish behavior. It wasn't about someone else punishing me. It was me seeing the truth of what I'd done. I didn't stay stuck in regret, though. At the same time, I felt a wave of unconditional love surrounding me. The presence by my side showed me that I wasn't meant to drown in guilt. Instead, I should learn from these moments. I realized how every choice I made mattered. No matter how small, it had a ripple effect on others. It was intense to sense the impact of my actions, both good and bad. I felt waves of tears in my heart as I came to terms with the times I'd let people down. Then the presence led me to a darker space. This part was different. I felt uneasy, like a cold wind had blown through my mind. I sensed suffering and emptiness. It was like a void where lost souls wandered. They seemed trapped by their own anger, regret, or confusion. I didn't recognize them personally, but I understood that this was a realm of sadness, a realm where unresolved pain dwelled. It felt like stepping into a harsh lesson. I had a sudden thought that if I'd continued living my life with a closed heart, I could have ended up in a place like that. It wasn't a threat. It was more like seeing a mirror of what happens when we turn away from love. When we fail to be honest with ourselves, we get stuck in a lonely loop. I panicked a bit. I mentally reached out to the presence, begging to leave this dark realm. My fear soared, and in that panic, I realized I still had free will. I had a choice to accept the love that was offered or push it away. That choice felt huge. At that moment, the presence, who had been steady and kind, stepped between me and the darkness. A great sense of warmth pushed back the shadows. It was as if a curtain lifted, and the darkness vanished. I felt safe again, though I still trembled from what I'd seen. Next, we moved into a space with a soft glow that pulsed. I saw outlines of structures in the distance, like they were built of light. I sensed that there were other beings around, but I couldn't see them clearly. It felt like a busy city, but without noise or chaos. It was peaceful, yet full of life. Each pulse of light felt like a silent heartbeat, and I heard a gentle melody echoing in my mind. There were no words, only a sweet chord that tugged at my emotions. It reminded me of a lullaby from childhood, but far more soothing. Then I heard a voice. It didn't come from outside me, but it formed inside my own thoughts. It said, "Your time here is not done." I remember feeling a sense of sadness when I heard that. I didn't want to leave. I felt more love there than I had ever known. Still, I also felt a subtle urgency. It wasn't panic, but an important call. The presence let me know that I had to go back to my physical life. There were things left undone, people I needed to help, and growth I needed to experience. I wanted to argue, I wanted to stay in that realm of peace and light. But the presence sent a gentle wave of reassurance through me. It was an unspoken message that said, "You have a role to fill and it's not finished." Suddenly, I found myself in a swirl of color and light. I felt like I was spinning, and the spinning got faster. My mind raced with confusion and a strange sense of loss, as if I was being yanked out of paradise. Then I sensed a jolt. I felt my body again, heavy and weak. I heard beeping sounds and muffled voices. My eyes didn't open right away, but I knew I was back. I felt the ache in my chest, the dryness in my mouth, and the sting of tears on my cheeks. Nurses were moving around me, and I heard someone say, "He's stabilizing. Keep him breathing." For several minutes, I could barely move. My eyelids felt glued shut. Then I managed to open them slightly, and I saw the room spinning. It was the ICU. My heart was pounding with a strange sense of familiarity. I recognized that I'd been gone but had returned. Even though my body felt like it was made of lead, my spirit felt lighter. I wasn't the same person who had entered that hospital. During recovery, I had many flashbacks of what I had experienced. At first, I was scared to talk about it. I thought people would judge me or say it was a hallucination, but the memories felt too real. I couldn't just ignore them. They were etched into my thoughts. I started to share with a few close friends. Some of them listened quietly, with tears in their eyes. Others got wide-eyed and didn't know what to say. Yet something inside told me that I had to keep sharing because that was part of why I had been allowed to come back. In the days that followed, I realized 7 key lessons from my time on the other side. Every action matters. We affect each other in ways we don't see. Even a small gesture of kindness can ripple out and change someone's day. It's not about being perfect, but about caring. The power of honesty is huge. We hurt ourselves by telling lies. When we hide from our own truths, we add layers of pain that follow us. It's never too late to be real with ourselves. Love is more than a feeling. It's a choice we make every day. It's how we treat people, how we listen, how we open our hearts. That's what lifts us and connects us to something bigger. The presence of spiritual help is real. We are never alone, even if we feel lonely. There are higher beings or forces that guide us. We only need to be open to their nudges. We have free will. That was clear to me in the way I could reach out for light or slip into darkness. It's up to us which path we choose. No one forces us, we decide. Judgment isn't about fear, it's about truth. On the other side, I didn't feel condemned. I felt the weight of my own actions. That weight taught me how much I needed to grow. We have a purpose that goes beyond just existing. We each have a reason to be here, and it's tied to love, growth, and service. When we lean into that calling, we find a deeper joy. Those days in the hospital were hard physically. I had to deal with a lot of pain and medications. But my heart was bursting with a new perspective. I felt like I'd been given a rare gift, the chance to see behind the curtain of death and come back to tell the story. Even my doctor commented that I had a peaceful glow around me. I didn't know how to explain it without sounding weird, but I just smiled. I felt safe. I felt at peace. As I recovered at home, I noticed small changes in how I looked at daily life. I'd see the sunrise and feel tears well up, thinking about how I almost missed it forever. I'd hear the laughter of a neighbor's child and feel that sense of wonder spark in my chest again. Everything felt more meaningful. That didn't mean I became a perfect person. I still got annoyed, I still got grumpy, I still had moments of impatience, but it was different. Underneath my flaws, there was this ongoing sense of gratitude that wouldn't leave me. I also felt a push to make amends for the hurts I had caused. The memory of that life review haunted me in a good way.